This video, I'm going to try to talk about Vestal's balance. And depending on who you ask, Vestal might be the worst champion ever made for DD2, or one of the best, so it's definitely like a spectrum. This video is more going to be about balance for mods and other such, like, creations. I have a lot of ideas that I would like to display and give my insights on why Vestal is not a great character for the early and way late game, like Infernal Flame. And a lot of Vestal's kit isn't that bad. It mostly has to do with just like mantra and her rank launch like reach and just a bunch of other really slow, very clunky mechanics I feel that she has that just limits the character. We're going to start with how I feel about the reach Vestal has. This is specifically for mantra, ministration, and illumination only on Confessor. Starting with mantra, I feel it doesn't need to be 3-4 exclusive. Like, a lot of the just overall balance with mantra is already using your consecrations. Consecrations are omni rank. I don't know why you can apply both consecrations in rank 1 and 2, but you're just not allowed to use mantra in 1 and 2. I feel an easy fix for mantra is just to make it like 2 through 4, but I can also see just doing omni rank for mantra, specifically for wanderer and confessor. I think Seraph's mantra is fine being 3 and 4, just because it's more of a back rank supporty feel, just like giving someone a ton of health. Ministrations is kind of weird. Like, I just feel like it doesn't do so much to warrant it being like PD's heal, where it's 3 and 4. It literally just removes bad stuff, and if you upgrade it, it removes bad stuff and gives you resistance against it, which is cool, but I don't know why rank 1-2 Vestal can't have that. Like, it seems like a very tanky skill, like something Crusader would have. So it's just like, I don't know. It's weird that it's only back rank Vestal. Again, easy fix, just make it like 2 through 4 or Omni rank. I think in this case 2 through 4 makes sense because it's kind of like Vestal's main stuff that's like supportive ends at 2 through 4, where it's like Divine Comfort in terms of just dot clear. Illumination specifically for Confessor is weird because the Wanderer one got buffed, but the Confessor one stays. It's literally just only in a bad spot for rank 1 Vestal or Dance rank 1-2 Vestal, which I feel is just weird. Like, it was balanced before, but now it's just Wanderer got a buff, so now it's like, oh, it's just slightly worse for rank 1-2 Vestal. I think just giving it rank 1, just making it full Omni reach would be fine. This next segment is simply skills I feel are just really bad. It's not like the whole skill is bad, it can literally just be the unmastered version, because I feel like a lot of Vestal's kit is so bad unmastered, just like you will lose unless you get a lot of mastery in region 1. But some other skills like mantra or divine comfort are actually really bad just in general. We're going to be starting off with mantra for wanderer and confessor. I feel like this skill is a lot like the Team Fortress 2 Medic's Medigun, where you just click on somebody and then you just slowly heal them over and over again. But in a RPG, it just feels like so much investment. You're putting so much into healing someone for 10% that you just need mastery for this to really do anything. And that can just feel bad. Like, the greatest situation is you're popping like 2 consecrations turn 1 and 2, and then turn 3 with a mastery you're healing 2 people for 30% and giving them like 1 extra token, which sounds really good, but you just spent 3 turns effectively doing just pure support. And it's not even a level of support where it's like, oh, you're winning. It's like, oh, thank goodness I took a like 60% damage on two, like spread across two heroes, so that my Vestal actually healed them. And then it leaves you in a weird spot afterwards where you have no power tokens, and you have like half of your kit is on cooldown, and you can't use mantra again without just it being a 10% heal. And it's just like it feels like a tempo loss, even though the whole point was building up tempo. I feel like the fix I would go for would be to remove the power usage on the upgraded version, greatly buff the unupgraded version, and just make it so it's like a stagnant, I place the buff on you, and it's good with one of the buffs, but it's super good if I spent 2 turns setting it up. I have an image here of what I'm talking about. So making both the mantras rank 2 through 4, just bumping up the healing a little bit, immediately having effect unupgraded. In this case, I have trigger the effects of any consecration on Wanderer. Upgraded, it gains an additional effect. Wanderer is going to be the more token based one, so it's like adding a token that you could get from any of the consecrations to that person or to multiple people with a smaller additional heal. With Confessor, I like the idea of it being more stress healer focused with the negative tokens. I actually have 2 examples of this. The first one is the one I have down here, where it's just a multi-hit consecrations, remove negative tokens, and stress heal you per negative token upgraded. This one was suggested by a Darkest Dungeon Discord user. I tweaked it a little bit to more what I'm talking about, but it's for Confessor, and it's basically targets people with negative tokens instead of consecrations to do its effect. In this case, it'll cure the negative tokens and heal the person. I made it more open ranked, but it's only single target, and upgraded it'll be a heal and a stress heal. This should probably have a cooldown. I think probably like 2 turns would be fine, but overall I think it's really cool given like holy water is in the game and it's a similar effect, so like a confessor can confess all your sins and you just like stress heal and heal when you're in a bad spot. You may notice I'm not talking about Chaplain. We're probably going to do that at the end because basically every part of that kit is not that good. I think the only good part of Chaplain is the passive where you gain things when you gain your power tokens when you're hit. That is the only real thing you could build around. Every other change is like a nerf or like weirdly like, oh, every time you get hit you get power tokens, so why don't you guard somebody, get hit every turn, and then heal? Like the equivalent of spending every turn just so you negated damage. Like, it's just crazy. Moving on to Divine Grace. This skill in general is really good if it works. It is basically a 25 to 45% heal, upgraded to 50% heal. But that's a lot of health. Like 45 to 50% heal is a lot. It's just you really need to jump through every single hoop, which is like you need the power tokens, you need them to be basically dead. If like 25% threshold is the equivalent of like, oh, my leper has less than like 12 HP, so now I get to heal him. Which if you compare it to anything else, like if you compare it to 50%, 20 to like 12 or 10 HP threshold to heal someone is massive, especially with like regen. If you give someone regen, it's even harder to heal them. Like they'll be at 12 HP and the next turn the boss is just going to smack them twice and kill them, and you're like, oh shoot, I can't heal them because like my 50% heal requires that they are literally at 0 HP. The skill is also infinite. You can use this any number of times in a fight. The only stipulation is it's a cooldown. It is so weird this way because you're probably going to only use Divine Grace like twice in a run, because you really have to be in a situation where your character has taken all their health and damage, and most of the time when that happens you also have to like calculate, oh, am I going to have my power tokens? So imagine you heal somebody for like 35% HP because you didn't manage your power tokens. Now you gotta wait 2 turns and in 2 turns you're going to be back at the same level of power, and you're just in the same spot where it's like, okay, you need to calculate it perfectly. I think this skill, just based on all those limitations, it makes that 50% HP just look like garbage, especially when Seraph spends 1 turn to put a consecration on someone and then heals them for 50. Just like, that is the only requirement. I feel my fix for Divine Comfort would be to just remove the threshold heal entirely. I feel Vestal should be in a place where she feels like a very, very good pick for a healer, and just having a heal button that you could press whenever to heal someone would be a lot nicer. I feel just having that lower cooldown on upgrade would be very nice, but also this is a mini nerf to the healing capability, going down from like a 25 to 50% heal to just 10% to 30, and when you upgrade it it'll be 20 to 40. This is more just so it's not crazy. Like it doesn't justify itself by being a crazy heal with like the insane levels of just restrictions. This is less restrictions, less heal. And finally, just to add a little bit more, a if target on death door critical heal, kind of like a cultist thing, where a cultist has a guaranteed critical heal ability. Hers is more like, hey, if you have the heal up when someone is just dropped and Vestal's up, you could just bring them right back with a somewhat good 20%, 50% of 20, or 50% of 40. So you could get like a 60% heal at best, which is very good for those situations. I think in general this might be too strong, but I think just currently it would just be a lot more fun than Divine Grace as it is. This next one is a bit weird because it's only the unupgraded version. Mace Bash unupgraded is incredibly bad, but then upgraded it's very good. This is more because the ability to deal 100% more damage is relevant to how much damage it deals, and 4 to 6 is not a lot of damage. Like, you can look at the skill as, when upgraded, deal plus 4 damage, gain 5 crit. So it's just like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot for what it is meant to do, because you can also have strength. So with strength you're getting more bonus. With like items or really anything that you're doing with melee Vestal, not having mace upgraded is just terrible, and I feel like no other attack feels like that. It's just so reliant on the damage number. I feel the only thing I would add is just to make it a 5 to 7 attack. Maybe keep its 10% crit, but like in general, it's doesn't have a lot going for it. Its upgrade is literally just for damage, and I feel like that's kind of lame, especially since like Judgment increases its burn at least. I guess it's the same thing, but it's just like it just feels like you're just punching numbers. Judgment on Confessor is super, super weak compared to Wanderer on Upgraded. You basically go from dealing 100% more damage to applying 1 weak. And with 3 power tokens, you apply 1 weak, 1 vulnerable, compared to 100% damage and a 3 burn. So it's just like huge damage loss for maybe a little bit of value. Upgraded, it is pretty good. It's 4 tokens. It's like double as good, but it's just, it feels so required that I feel like I would just have it be double tokens and maybe add an effect, or just make it do like more crit or something upgraded, just because Duelist has an effect where it's very similar to this, but it's just flat. You do 2 weak, 2 vuln without mastery. I feel like this is just too weak to just be. You need so much to apply 2 two debuffs that don't synergize with each other. We're going to be going into some Chaplain stuff. Chaplain's Hand of Light is simply worse, and it has no reason to be worse. It simply changes the tokens and the damage to weaker versions. In general, unupgraded, Hand of Light is worse than Wanderer Hand of Light. It simply does the exact same thing, but it does less damage. Upgraded, it does equally less damage. In fact, it doesn't increase in damage. The only benefit to this Hand of Light is when upgraded, you give a hero block instead of strength, which would be completely equal. You can argue strength is better than block, but even if it's completely equal, you still just do less damage. You're trading nothing. This doesn't do anything. You're just saying strength is now block, and also it does less damage. That's literally the entire skill. I would just maybe make it more defense focused. Maybe not even give herself strength, just generate block. Maybe generate block to other people immediately unupgraded, just so it feels unique. It feels like a trade-off instead of just a swap that's slightly worse. Sanctuary on Chaplain honestly just feels so much worse of a trade-off. You go from, oh, I upgraded Sanctuary on Wanderer, so now I give somebody Taunt, I get 2 block, and I stress heal them, to, oh, I picked Chaplain, so now I give somebody slightly more, not Taunt, Guard, and instead my upgrade is 1 extra Guard, and instead of 2 block, I gain 1 of each type of block, which is just slightly better. It's not crazy good. I feel like Chaplain simply should just have the stress heal one, and regular Vestal should have the other guard, just because I feel it's awkward that Vestal just has a stress heal. You don't use this for a guard in normal other kits. You're just like, oh, it's a stress heal, I'll just grab it. My support is a stress heal now, which I feel is just lame because it's a guard. It's literally just one of the weirdest changes because it doesn't promote anything. It's just like, oh, this next skill I'm going to talk about, the mantra, it now maybe works because you have more guard. And that brings us to Chaplain's mantra, which is so bad. So unupgraded, you're never going to use this unupgraded. Unupgraded, a ally took damage, and in response, you guarded them with Sanctuary, or another hero used a guard skill. You then can spend your turn, if they are still guarded, to heal them 10% of their HP. That is negative value. You are basically guarding somebody for a turn to prevent them from taking damage, to then heal them. Which you could have just, healed them if you could. But instead you pick Chaplain, so now you're just guarding people who have taken damage. The next turn you can heal them for 10%. When you upgrade this skill, you heal them for 15%. And if you have 3 power tokens, you stress heal them once. Meanwhile, you just get a slightly stronger self-heal. You just get a 25% self-heal with a -2 stress. So it's a little tank heal that you have, and it is infinite, but it's just you're setting up guard, you're setting up guard just so you can not use it. You don't want to use it because if you run out of guard, you gotta set it up again for this stress heal. This is the equivalent of pretending to be the tank so that you can tank. And in general, the mastery requirement, just the effect itself, having this weird, I'm guarding you, but I'm doing it just so I can heal myself more, and hopefully I take more damage so I can heal myself more. It's just an endless loop of you're not doing anything. if you look at a game plan where you are using this mantra, your Vestal is not doing anything. She is sitting in rank, guarding people, and self healing. Hopefully, people hit her enough so that she can self heal more. And that's a mastery. You look at like Grave Robber Tank. Grave Robber Tank can just pop the tank thing, like the I dodge your attacks and you hit me, and then she can heal if she gets hit, or she can hit you. That is more effective than anything Chaplain is doing. And this is supposed to be a tank path. I think you have to just rework how Chaplain works for this mantra to work. That's why I'm not going to be giving an example because it would take a lot of time. But I would just think of the theme of a Chaplain where it's like, oh, you don't hurt people as much, but you defend yourself and others. In this case, you don't hurt people a lot. You defend yourself by pretending to help others, which is just garbage. It doesn't feel good at all. I think it just motivates you to play this very, very, very weird playstyle. And at best, you're not using mantra. You're just standing in rank 1, like spamming Mace Bash. Because if you get hit like 3 times, you do a lot of damage. That is the equivalent of Chaplain. So it's just like I had an old image which I'm showing right now, which is like some skill ideas for Chaplain, just because the path itself is not good, but you can definitely make it good. You can think of cooler ideas that can possibly be fun. Like in this case, I have Hand of Light giving guard, which could be cool. It's not the greatest. I probably would make it like unupgraded gives a random ally guard, and maybe even upgraded gives someone 2 guard, just because it's like it's not a lot. Mace Bash, just in general, maybe it could be cool if instead of doing a ton of damage with Mace Bash, you were healing your allies, because you're probably in rank 1 or 2 and you don't have a lot of healing, but you're trying to be this tank, and just making the mantra better if you go for the guard strat. I like currently wouldn't do this. In the past, if I tried to buff it, this is what it would look like. Just make the upgraded version the unupgraded version, but make it even better, and then make the upgraded version even better. So it's like, hey, epic. In this case, this has like stuff for if Consecration of Light had its own unique effects for each path. That could be a cool avenue. It's not necessarily what makes Vestal bad. If anything, like her consecrations are perfect. They just are buffs. On Seraph, they're not perfect because they're just better buffs in general, which is a little sad. But just it's so much better. Just the easiest fix for one easy thing on Chaplain is her guard. Just make it the stress heal one, or don't even change it because it's already perfect. Like it's kind of OP. I will admit, just slapping a stress heal on any move is pretty good, but you don't need to change it to like gaining a different set of block and giving more guard. I feel like Vestal was like the ancestor that gave us the newer path system, but you can always see that kind of creep of, hey, you want to play better Wanderer? Play Seraph. Or, hey, do you want to use half of your kit? Then play this path. Play Seraph if you want to use Consecrations, because it's better on Seraph. Or just in general, because it's just, some of this stuff is just not good. And it's a little sad. It's definitely okay. Like, you can beat the game with this stuff. It's not like, oh, yes, Vestal's useless. You could beat the game. It's just you're not going to beat any of these infernal flames unless you are cranking Vestal. If you're doing some crazy things. And even if you are, you're probably not using the skills that are changed. You're probably using some weird Seraph mix, or like, oh, I'm playing Chaplain, but I sit in rank 1 with the fishing line and I just spam Mace Bash to generate taunt, and then I get hit and I do more damage, and that's all I do. I'm not doing any of the change skills. So it's just like, keep that in mind, making stuff to make sure the changes are fun The builds are fun, and just in general, the character is fun. Okay, my voice is dying. You can probably tell, but that's gonna be in the video. Um, Pretty epic. Definitely send any kind of comments on what you think about the changes, or what you would do if you could make these kind of mod changes. I've made some like this. Vestal's kit is actually funny because her skills are pre-written, so even if I did apply these buffs, I would have to delete all of the pre-written stat blocks so they could display in game, which is annoying, so I didn't do it. But I definitely will be making a Vestal rework once mod support is out and the Steam um, mod stuff is out, which is pretty hype. I'm excited for it. But definitely remember, uh, give me your ideas, send them in the comments below, and see you next time.